Hi guys, welcome to my channel Confessions of a Gaming Mum, and welcome to a video that I have been planning to do for a while, but you know, life has gotten in the way, constantly being ill, not having time, yeah. So anyway, I should start this video by explaining the fact that Tomb Raider 2 isn't really one of my favourites in the franchise, unfortunately. I did jump at the chance when it first came out to buy a copy. Well, I asked my parents for a copy and they got it for me for my birthday. But it took me quite a few months after I first started playing it to actually pluck up the courage to actually explore the game. Once I found out about cheats, I used them enthusiastically, let's just say that. So unlimited ammo, level skip, blowing Lara up, different things like that. The amount of enemies in Tomb Raider 2 just kind of put me off, and combining that with some of the difficulty of the traps and the puzzles as well meant that it never really encouraged me to really explore it more as a youngster. So most of the time my playthrough of Tomb Raider 2 when I fancied playing it was more me just running around the manor and naturally locking Winston in the freezer. So whenever I think of Tomb Raider 2, to be fair, the main memory for me is running around the manor, and to me it's still really nostalgic to run around the Tomb Raider 2 manor. I absolutely love it, and yeah, that's some of my absolute favourite memories of as a child. However, this is about the actual levels of the game rather than just the assault course and running around Lara's manor. So if you follow me on social media, or you watch any or follow any of my channels in terms of on Twitch or on YouTube or whatever, you will know that I have recently been working through the Tomb Raider games from beginning to the end with Shadow of the Tomb Raider eventually when I get there. I have Tomb Raider 2 quite fresh in my mind. Explosion! Ah! And as I said in my previous video, if you watched that about Tomb Raider 1, if not, I will link it in this video. My memories of the games have changed a lot in recent times, obviously now playing them as an adult rather than when I was younger and when I couldn't be bothered to solve a puzzle, or I'd just go for a walkthrough or just cheat and skip the level or whatever. I'm actually making the effort to work my way through the games. So now it's all fresh in my mind. I'm actually able to just talk about what I loved about these levels in Tomb Raider 2. So after all that explanation, here is my top 5 levels of Tomb Raider 2. So to start off this countdown, I'm going to go with Tibetan Foothills. So this was a favourite level of mine growing up in terms of, because naturally the skidoo, come on, who doesn't love going around on the skidoo and just mowing the baddies down and different things like that, and doing all the different jumps and stuff. I never really got far in the level, to be honest, because I was so scared with all the enemies and dying and different things like that. So playing through it recently and then having to replay it to actually get the recording for this video reminded me that 1, it is a fun level, but 2, it is really, really hard. But it is also very rewarding. But when you think it is a very basic sort of premise of the level, in terms of you get to the hut, you need to be able to open the gate, but in order for you to open the gate you need to flick the switch within the hut, but in order to get into the hut you need the key. So you go on this epic adventure on the skidoo to try and find the key to get into the hut so you can flick the switch to move on to the next level. And yeah, I died a lot. It's just, I think that's why with Tomb Raider 2 it is such a different feel to the first game. It's very much a culture shock. If you have played Tomb Raider 1 and that is like your comfort zone, Tomb Raider 2 just throws you way out into the deep end, way away from, as far away from your comfort zone to it's like just a smidge in the distance sort of thing. And it is incredibly action packed, and Tibetan Foothills just encapsulates that for me. Like I said, it is an incredibly fun level, but it can also be incredibly difficult. And I did find myself getting incredibly frustrated with it. Well, at least I know that's where the gold secret is. But like I said, I just find it such a rewarding level, and also just so much fun just being able to ride around in the Skidoo. Hence why it's in my top 5, because the level of fun in this level I just think is some of the top in the game. A lot of the time with the traps that you get, they just can be incredibly frustrating, but at least with the Tibetan Foothills you get that sort of reward at the end by being able to ride the Skidoo, or when you die for the 100th time by blowing up on the Skidoo, it's not so bad as when you die from like the 1000th time being rolled out, like run over by a boulder or whatever. For me, it's, even though it is an incredibly hard level, it is also an incredibly fun level, so that's why it's number 5 in my list. So number 4 for me is Wreck of Maria Doria. Now, I know that with the underwater levels, they can be quite controversial with Tomb Raider 2 in terms of people either love them or they hate them, I think. I don't think you really find people that are kind of like, meh, they're okay. I actually enjoy them to a certain extent. I don't actually find them as bad as what people make them out to be. If anything, I think the Tibetan levels, i.e. like Tibetan Foothills and Barkhang Monastery and stuff like that, I find them more frustrating than I do the underwater levels. If anything, the underwater levels to me feel more like a Tomb Raider game than Tibet does, because obviously you're underwater, you're in this ship and it's all old and rotten and falling apart and everything's collapsing, and the fact that everything is upside down as well, which I think is just such a great sort of aesthetic to have in there. Is kind of like, what is that film? I'm trying to think of the name of it. Poseidon's Adventure? I don't know if I got that right, where the ship like gets capsized or whatever and just, yeah, everything's upside down. I just find that such a neat trick that they did, and yeah, it's great to look at everything from like different way up, the fact that you're like running around on the ceiling and everything. I think the traps are really good. Again, with this level, to me it's more the enemies that stopped me as a young player from playing it, because where you have these sort of narrow small corridors and they would just like jump out from nowhere and just absolutely scare the crap out of me. But going back as an adult, yes, they still do that. Not so much, but it meant as an adult and being the braver person that I am now, being able to play it and just being able to enjoy it, like I said, just feeling like I'm actually back into a Tomb Raider game. And like I said, I just think especially with Wreck of Maria Doria, where you're able to walk around and you see just all the different rooms. I think that's why Wreck of Maria Doria comes on this list, in terms of, because it shows more the internal part of the ship and sort of the living, almost like the living quarters, because that was close on my list as well, in terms of I nearly merged the two together, because they show just how it was like a luxurious ship. And obviously within the Wreck of Maria Doria you get to go into, obviously you've got the swimming pool, but you go into like the sort of the inner bowels of the ship. So not only are you seeing like the ballroom and the swimming pool and all the luxurious part of it, you're also seeing the rusty, dirty part of it that obviously only the people that worked on the ship would have seen. But again, I think the traps are fun. The underwater puzzles are really fun as well. I think it's a big trigger for people in terms of these levels feel very claustrophobic, and also when you have the underwater puzzles, they can just really sort of bring your anxiety up because of the limited amount of time you have to do them before Lara will drown and different things like that. So yeah, I can understand why people don't like them, but for me, I just absolutely love the feel of Wreck of Maria Doria because of just that creepiness and just the atmosphere, and I just love the whole concept of being on a ship that's upside down, deep underwater. So you're basically in this tomb surrounded by water and sharks and everything. To me, I think it's such a great concept. I would love to see how something like that would be done now. I think that's another reason why it always intrigued me as well, because I'd love to see how they would recreate it. I don't think Crystal would do a very good job at it, but or maybe they would, I don't know. But yeah, I would just love to see how it would translate into a modern game, because I just think it's such a great concept, and that's why it's number 4 on my list. So number 3, again, I'm talking about the level of fun that I have from these levels, and that is Bartol's Hideout. Again, sheer amount of enemies in this, it almost spoils it for me, but I don't know, Venice for me, I absolutely love Venice in this game. Italy anyway holds a very special place in my heart. It's where I got married, it's where we try and holiday as much as we can, pandemic not permitting. But I absolutely love these levels, and I think for me they always stuck out for me whenever people said Tomb Raider 2. If I didn't think Croft Manor, I would think Venice and just the Venetian levels in general, because they were so different from Tomb Raider 1, because obviously Tomb Raider 1 took place within tombs. You never saw the outside, so it was dark and dingy, and you never saw the outside world or anything, no outside noises. It was all like cave ambience and stuff like that. But with Tomb Raider 2 and in Venice, it was all bright sunshine. You could hear the birds chirping, you had greenery with all the plants and everything, and I loved Bartol's Hideout, where it was just the beautiful chandelier in the main room, paintings on the wall, wallpaper that was like peeling off the walls and different things like that. And I love that side of it. And again, I love the platforming in this one, because like where you have to change the height of the chandeliers and different things like that. And then when you have to climb the bookcases in the library and different things. So it actually felt more like you were sort of taking on the mafia, so to speak. It really did feel like Lara was being really badass and just taking on sort of the mob single-handedly, and it was just really, really great feeling. Even though, like I said, I didn't like the amount of enemies you get, especially like if you open a door and as soon as you open the door the enemies come out. It still feels like it was quite a big open space, so you weren't like within the underwater levels when you're just in a really restricted space. You actually felt like you could jump around while you were shooting and different things like that, so it didn't feel so much like you were trapped where it did in other previous levels or previous games or whatever. And also I think I just love the end of the level where you have the premise, a very simple premise, of the fact that you have to blow up part of a building in order to get into the opera house. So the fact that you actually get to blow something up, I thought at the time, I think I was just super just impressed by it. It's like, wow, this is amazing. There's a building, then you press a button and all of a sudden it's gone. It's amazing. Just simple things really, isn't it? I just used to absolutely love that sort of just exploration, and again you get that with Bartol's Hideout in terms of you're having to look. It's not obvious in terms of where you have to go. Well, I don't find it obvious in terms of where you have to go. So you still have that level of exploration. Even if you're not still within the tombs, it's still a matter of trial and error and different things like that. Because you don't really get many traps in this level per se. It's more just, like I said, the platforming, and it's really straightforward. So even though it is lacking in puzzles in this level, having that break from the puzzles and just having the platform inside of things, I think is a really good way. And it's still technically the level itself is a puzzle, because obviously you have to figure out what you need to do in order to reach the next point. So so you still have that puzzle element even if you're not really directly solving any puzzles. So again, that's why I absolutely love Bartol's Hideout and why it's number 3 on my list. So now we're at number 2, and this level I absolutely, again, used to love as a child. Again, never really played so much of it because I always used to die or get really scared. And that is Barkhang Monastery. Playing it recently, you realise just how big a level it is and just so much that you have to do. Obviously, in this level, you have to find the 5 prayer wheels in order to open the door to progress to the next level. And you just have to explore pretty much every nook and cranny. And you never know what's waiting around the next corner. The one thing with this level, which I think is fantastic, is the fact that you don't, even though there are a lot of enemies within this level, you don't have to worry about them so much because you have the monks on your side. As long as you don't shoot them, you have the monks on your side to take care of the enemies for you. So you're left to just be able to deal with the puzzles and the traps and everything. And that's why I absolutely love it, because yeah, you can get completely lost, but it's also, you get lost because it's just so open, and you don't have to do anything necessarily in a particular order in terms of, obviously you need to find a certain key to open a certain door, but you don't have to find that key first to open that door first, to find that prayer wheel first. You can find whatever prayer wheel you want first. So it doesn't matter, like, if you go to a particular area, pick up that prayer wheel, and then you'll go to another area and you think, oh crap, I should have picked that one up first. You don't have that. So it's open in that sense, and that's what I love about it. You can just run around and do what the hell you like. And yes, the puzzles in it are just insane. I think it's a good preemptive level for when you head back to China and you go into Temple of Xian. I mean, Temple of Xian just knocks it up way out of the ballpark in terms of difficulty and insanity with the different sort of traps that you get. But the traps in this level I just think are absolutely fantastic and really, really well done. And again, there's just so many opportunities to die, to be killed, be murdered or whatever. It's so much fun, and yeah, I just absolutely love this level. And again, it just, you look at the aesthetic, like with that giant statue when you walk into the main hall, and it's, the lighting I think is absolutely fantastic. And yeah, just like the music and just the ambience and absolutely everything about that level I just think is absolutely fantastic. And I think now when I think about Tomb Raider 2, it's one of those levels that I instantly think of, because I think it really complements the game in terms of it shows what it could do at the time. Because I think that's probably one of the main arguments that people do have when it comes to playing Tomb Raider 2, is the amount of enemies. Well, I find that anyway. I think it's probably one of the biggest gripes that people have, is the amount of enemies that you get. It kind of takes away from the gameplay, but with Barkhang Monastery you don't have that. So that's why, again, it comes up quite high in my list, or I say very high in my list for top 5 levels, because you can actually really enjoy the level without having to worry about the enemies and stuff, and you can just let the puzzles kill you instead. So this is my number 1 for this top 5 Tomb Raider 2 levels. I have to say nostalgia plays a big part in this, but also playing it again just reminded me just how much fun this level is to just run around, and just how iconic it is as a level for Tomb Raider 2. And that level is Venice. So for me, it's probably the one level that I would completely, I would do start to finish, no question of it. All the other levels I might get so far and then give up, but Venice I would always work through, because I just love going around in the speedboat on the canal and solving all the puzzles. Again, you don't really have the puzzles in this level. It's more about flicking the switch to open that door, then you go through that door to flick another switch and different things like that. So that's where more you have the puzzles. The canal itself is the puzzle, because it's just this massive maze and you have to figure out where you need to go. And also you have the, not so much a trap, but it's a hurdle in the game, in terms of knowing that you have to set off the mines at the end of the level, at the beginning, in order for you to end the level. And I just thought that was such a good thing. It's like, no matter how long I played this game for, or how many times I played this level, I would always get that anxiety at the end of the level, just to make sure I would actually get through the door once I flicked the switch, get in that speedboat and get through the door in time before the doors close. It still does it. It still puts me on edge that I'm actually going to make it. And I absolutely love it. The amount of enemies in this level, I thought it's still high, but it's not as bad as other levels can be. And I think because I know the level so well, I know where the enemies are going to be, so it's not as bad. But they don't have that ability, I don't think, to sneak up on you, because everything's quite open. I think when you first play it, this level will obviously show you that you just can't trust, whenever you open a door there's going to be an enemy there. But obviously now I know the level so well, I know as soon as I open that door an enemy is going to come out, so I'm prepared for it. It should set that precedent for me for when I play the rest of the levels, but I still managed to get the crap scared out of me by by an enemy just coming around the corner that I wasn't expecting. And I think as well, as I said about Bartol's Hideout, I think with Venice, the whole sort of area in general, not just with the level, is just so completely different to what you get in Tomb Raider 1. Like I said before, with Tomb Raider 1, everything's enclosed, you're within the tombs, so it's not claustrophobic, but you don't get any outside influence within the tomb. But with Venice, and like I said, with Bartol's Hideout, it's in the open air, the sun's shining, it's a lovely day, you have birds chirping and different things like that. So you get that outside environment, which is completely different to the dark, creepy place that you would get in Tomb Raider 1, which added to the atmosphere. But with these levels, because it's all bright and sunny and everything, it kind of takes a back seat, and it's more about you fighting your way through the enemies and fighting your way past the puzzles or through the mazes, as I kind of see those two levels. And yeah, that's just how it feels for me. It's just polar opposites to Tomb Raider 1. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I said, I know Tomb Raider 1 is my absolute favourite Tomb Raider game. But it's nice to have a Tomb Raider game that has that different element within it. I just think those two levels just show how different they could actually make a Tomb Raider game. Especially when you think of like how many different changes came in with Tomb Raider 2 in terms of sort of Lara's shape had changed, no more pointy boobs, nice big round bazungas. She had her braid, which blew in the breeze, which I found absolutely amazing at the time. Voice actress change, which took a long while for me to accept, but I got over it eventually. And yeah, it just had a completely different feel to Tomb Raider 1, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. For me, the factor that kind of lowers Tomb Raider 2 in my book is just the amount of enemies. And that's why Venice is my top level, because I just have so much nostalgia from it. It is just such a fun level, despite the enemies. And it really does offer that sort of great challenge. And I think I would love to sit down and watch a new player come into it and see, like someone who's never played it before, just to see how they would do this level and what they would think of it in terms of... First, I'd obviously love them to play Tomb Raider 1, but then I'd love to see what they would think of Tomb Raider 2 afterwards. It just intrigues me seeing what other people think of it. So there you have it. Those are my top 5 levels of Tomb Raider 2. Again, this is personal opinion. Don't hate on me for my opinion. That's just what it is. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your top 5 levels are of Tomb Raider 2. Would you have Temple of Xian in there? I'm not crazy, so that's why it's not in there. But yeah, I would love to know what you think, so please leave your comment below. Also subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you could please give the video a like if you did enjoy it, then please do. It really helps me out. So yeah, so hopefully I shall see you in my next video, or maybe I will see you on my top 5 levels of Tomb Raider 3, whenever that will come out. Love you guys, and I hopefully will see you in the next video. Bye!